Welcome to Let's Talk Podcast, everybody. I see we got a couple people here already. Make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe. If you guys can hear me clear, come on, put something in the air. Come on, say hello, hello, hello. What's going on? I see y'all in there. Oh, hey, Jess Reese, what's going on? You always here. I don't know who you are, but I love you because you come every week. I think you're a secret family member. I don't know what's going on. What's up? What's up? Hey, what's up, Calder? How you doing? How y'all doing? We're gonna give it a few minutes just to try to get everybody in. What's up, Sean? Hey, girl. What's going on? Yeah, we sure always in the building. Hello, 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 hello. You guys, we bringing positive vibes today. Positive vibes. Y'all know we always on this channel. We talk a lot about relationships. Hey, everybody. What's up, my girl, Natika? Hey, girl. How y'all doing? Y'all know we always talking about relationships, marriage, divorce, step parents, baby mamas, high body counts, red pill, blue pill. We talk a lot about that. And though I know that it's important that we speak on it because a lot of us is dealing with that type of stuff every single day, I do still feel like we need to talk about other issues that are extremely important, which is our community. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Community building. How do we build a better community? And I was looking online and I was praying and I was like, you know what? We really need to bring somebody on who can really help us do better for our families, for our children, for our communities, in way of homeschooling, in way of growing our own foods, even entrepreneurship. This sister that we're going to bring on today, man, she has so much experience. You guys don't know how blessed I am, how blessed you're going to be for her to come on today. She took time out of her busy schedule between everything that she has going on, from homeschooling, raising her children, working a full-time job, also doing her entrepreneurship and everything else. She has a lot of stuff going on, but she made time out of her schedule to come on to teach us how to do some of the things she does like it's nothing. So we're definitely gonna give her a warm welcome. Make sure you guys show some support, like, subscribe, share, like, subscribe, share. Without further ado, what's up? Hey, girl. What's
Hello,
up?
hello.
Well, introduce yourself to the people real quick who don't
My
know.
name is Desire. Most people know me from Wake Up Jacob. I breed Rottweilers, so I am Desire. You can call me Desi. Anything like that'll work.
Desi, you guys show Desi some love. Y'all get up in that comment section. Thank her for being here. Y'all go ahead and show us some love. Well, thank you for coming on, man. When I was on your Facebook page, I was so inspired by all the stuff that you were doing. And I said, you know what? I got to bring her on here because this is stuff that we don't talk about. We really don't.
Absolutely.
I go on my page now. I have things talking about women backside, and I got over 100 comments. But as soon as I put your thing up and we're going to talk about community building, I probably got like 10 likes. That's about
Hmm.
it. And
Yeah,
that's not good. We got to do better as a people if we want to make a change in our community, and it has to start with us. We can't just sit in the background pointing fingers
yeah.
and not try to take steps on our own. So I decided, you know what? I want to be able to use my platform, not just to be talking about celebrities and who's with who or who's doing what, but we want to also actually make some positive moves and some changes in our community. And I think that you're going to be the perfect person to do that with today.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. But you are absolutely correct. And sometimes it gets frustrating, because it's like I'm always putting out this information. I'm always trying to, encourage our people to grow food, homeschool, and things like that. And if you post something or repost something that a celebrity is doing, or some gossip, or Kiki Palmer did this, everybody is talking about that. But don't nobody want to know how to grow these tomatoes. It's like, what we finna do when you can't go to the grocery store?
It's true. Kiki probably ain't gonna help us.
Nah, you know about her bedroom, but what are you gonna do? Can you grow a tomato?
No, we can't. We can't grow tomato. We can't. We can barely buy a tomato, let alone grow a tomato.
Listen, I asked some kids one day. I used to teach a children's Bible ministry, and I asked the children. I said, "Where do your fruits and vegetables come from?" They said, "The grocery store." I said, "Houston, we got a problem." Okay,
My kids would have said the refrigerator. They wouldn't even have said the grocery store. They would have said the refrigerator. Like, that's where it come from. What you talking about? We gotta do
right,
better though. That's why we here
right,
today. That's why we
right.
here today.
Absolutely,
So we gotta
absolutely.
do better. So the first thing I want to get into, I just want to get to know you a little bit first. Tell the people about where were you raised, a little bit about your background, just so that they could understand. I want them to kind of feel that you don't have to be some like professor, or you could just be the girl next door. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So I kind of want people to kind of get to know you. Where do you come from? Where were you raised? Did you have siblings growing up? Things of that nature.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
So,
So
I was
I was
born and
born
raised
and
in
raised.
Youngstown, Ohio. Can you hear the echo? It was an echo. Okay.
You sound
I
good.
was born and raised in Youngstown, Ohio. I'm the youngest of three siblings on my mom's side. And I was always that weird kid. I was always the little nerd that, liked to read books and stuff. And even as a young child, I wanted to grow fruits and vegetables. I wanted to grow a garden. And I remember asking my mom when I was in the fourth grade if we could grow a garden. And my mom was like, girl, child, I don't know nothing about that. That's what she told me. She was like, girl, I don't know nothing about that. And I was like, okay, and I just kind of didn't think nothing else about it. And so I then got into, I loved animals. My mom don't like animals either. She was like, girl, I don't want no dogs. And
In my house, we
I
will
don't
have
want no
animals
dogs
in the house. Animals in the house.
at all. So again, like I said, I was the weird child. And so I wanted a dog. And so I knew that the only way that I could do that is if I learned how to take care of it by myself. So I would have my mom drop me off at the library when I was about 10 years old every day. And I would take out piles of books on teaching dogs, just learning, their characteristics and just basically learning how to train them. And so I got into those types of things. I ended up, once I graduated high school, I went to school for nursing. I've worked in healthcare for about 18 years. So it's not like I'm not a person who went to school for agriculture. I got sick in 2020 and I got COVID at working as a nurse, and my lungs took a major hit. And once I got to a point where working in the same healthcare field that I was trying to get treatment from, I could get no help. I realized that I had to do something different. And so I began to seek out the Most High and pray. And I began to find information on detoxing and, fruits and vegetables and intermittent fasting and things like that. And that's really what catapulted me into the health and wellness and just growing my own food and stuff.
So prior to you getting COVID, were you already dabbling into growing your own food?
No.
Okay, so
I bought a raised garden bed the year before, but I kept telling myself I couldn't do it.
Oh, okay. So
So
like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. So from
yeah,
when you were a little girl and you told your mama, I want a garden,
yep,
all the way up right before COVID,
yep.
you were like, I can't do it. But it was when you had got COVID, and you tell us a little bit about that. So you got COVID and you say you started having issues with your lungs. Like, get into a little bit more detail about that.
So growing up, I always had like real bad allergies and asthma. And things like that. And you go to the doctors tell you that there's nothing that you can do. That's a chronic condition. Either you grow out of it or basically you'll be on medication the rest of your life. So when I got sick in 2020, I had so much difficulty breathing. And the doctors told me that if my lungs were, this is what the doctor said. He said, if your lungs are damaged, there's nothing we can do. So basically they sent me home to die. If you don't get better, that's just what it is. And so that's what made me start to look at other, vitamins and other things, other ways to heal myself rather than, this westernized medicine. And so I started growing vegetables because I realized that I could breathe better outside. The air, it was, it helped me, especially because where I lived at the time had a lot of trees. And so the trees would filter out the air and a lot of oxygen and things like that. And so it began to be more therapeutic as well, growing and stuff like that.
So let me get this right. The same system that you were working for, that you had made a career, that you went to school for, sent you home to die.
Not only the same system, the same company.
What?
Yep, the same company. And then they fired me because I ran out of sick leave.
So they were like, "Yeah, we're done with you. If you ain't
Yeah.
coming back, then you just can't work here no more."
Yeah,
Wow.
they said you can come back, but
But see, that's what I hate to say it, but sometimes this is what it takes for
yeah.
us to say, you know what? Yeah, I gotta figure something out because the same company I work for, the same system that I went to school for, got educated for,
Yep.
works for, had helped so many people within that field, is now sending me home and saying, "Well, that's what it is. Sorry. Here's the medication.
Yep.
Good luck. Wish you the best." So now you're at your house. You're like, okay, this isn't working for me. I got to figure something out. You didn't think you could do what you said. So get into some of your trial and errors. What were some of the things you started off doing? What do you think you could like how did it go the first round?
Okay, so
What did
what
you
I'll first
do?
say, right? What I started out with three garden beds, two 4x4 raised beds, and a 4x8 or 4x10. Sorry, and I went from that to I want to say 10 8x4s and 10 chickens or 20 chickens. I ended up being a beekeeper. Um, I raised quail, all of this stuff, but it started with just, three garden beds. I had 15 fruit trees, about 15 or 16 berry bushes, but it all started with me just making the decision that, you know what, I'm just going to try in these garden beds. And I think the first thing I grew was like tomatoes, lettuces. These things are super easy to do. And
So
so
you
I
started
started
off with easy stuff. So what did you do?
easy
Did you
stuff.
look on YouTube? Did you like how did you go about when you first started growing things like lettuce?
Well, initially I didn't look anywhere. I just went to the grocery store and I bought I bought seedlings. I bought a ton
Uh,
of them and I said I'm just about to plant these. So I had no idea what I was doing. I had no experience and my garden thrived. It not only, I not only was able to grow, but it thrived. And what I learned that very year was that it's low. A lot of stuff is low maintenance, and even as someone with little to no experience, you can do it. You know, and I was able to. Like I said, I didn't lose any plants that year.
wow, that's a blessing. So for anyone that's going to be a beginner, what would you say they should do? Like what are some of the first steps you would give them for anyone that's a beginner that wants to start growing?
So what I would say is don't do what I did. Actually educate yourself a little bit because the second year I ran into a couple things and I lost a lot of my seedlings. What happened was I planted a ton of seedlings in the basement, a lot of seeds, and then once they germinate and pretty much start to sprout into a little plant, that's called a seedling. So I lost about 100 of them because, yeah, I know. I didn't know. What happens is when you buy soil, they'll have eggs of gnats, and they're called fungus gnats, and
Hmm.
they lie dormant in the soil, and they could lie dormant in the soil for, I mean, years. And what they need is water and light, and then food. The food is your plant that you just planted. And so
So
what
you give
happens
them
is
everything they need.
you give them everything they need and then you give them that water and they need that moist environment. And so what happens is once your plant germinates, they eat the roots. And so
Hmm.
because I didn't know that happens, I lost a ton of seedlings that second year, because the first year I just bought my seedlings from the like Walmart and Lowe's and stuff like that. So what you have to do is you have to boil, like you can boil water and you can sterilize the soil. And that's only if you're going to grow seedlings indoors. If you grow them outdoors, you don't have to do that because the sun will cook out, those layers.
Okay, okay. So I want to share real quick some of the pictures with the people so they
Okay,
can kind of
absolutely.
see. Yeah, so let me drop this down. Hold on a second.
This
This
was
picture,
that
yeah.
was, I want to say,
Explain
year
this picture
two.
right here. Yeah, explain this picture right here. The tent that you have behind you. What is all that?
Yeah, so that's year two. And by year two, I was really feeling myself. I said, oh, I can do this. Not only survived, but thrived the first year. So I was really feeling myself. I went and got chickens. I ordered them from Tractor Supply online. I picked them up at the post office. I didn't even know you could do that. So
you
I
can
picked up
pick chickens up at the post office?
little baby chicks. Yep.
What the heck?
You can order them. You can order them online, and they'll send them in the mail, and they'll send them in like a little box. Yeah.
So now when you get these, what do you need to take care of? Like, what do you need? Okay, you ordered the chicklings, you went to go pick them up. What do you need to actually raise them and produce eggs and all that?
Okay, so they're actually really easy to take care of as well. They begin to lay eggs at about 5 to 6 months of age, and they'll lay eggs from then until about 2 years, and then they'll start to slow down. Now that picture right there, that is a quail. I hatched about 50 quail eggs.
Wow.
Yeah, that's my incubator that I had in the kitchen.
Wow.
So anyways, back to the chickens. But so they're really easy to take care of. Really, they are. Once they get a little bit older, you can I give them table scraps. So like apple cores, fruits and vegetables from the refrigerator that maybe is not spoiled, but I'm not about to eat it because it's starting to, get a little a little wrinkly and stuff like that. So then I would just take that kind of stuff out to the chickens, or as I'm pruning my plants and stuff like that. If I find plants that have been eaten a little bit by bugs or groundhogs, deer, or something like that, I'll give that to the chicken. So that's good chicken food. And not only is it saving me money by giving them that, but I know what I'm getting. That it doesn't get more organic than that because I don't use any pesticides or anything like that. Everything I do is natural.
Do you have to worry about like animals trying to attack the chickens or eat the chickens?
That's where the Rottweilers come in.
She about to get it. I don't want to get into the Rottweilers yet. I want to stay on the no food.
Okay. But that's where they come in. So yeah, it's absolutely. You got raccoons who will they'll grab the chickens and just kill them. They won't even eat them.
Dang.
Yeah, you got fox. A funny story. I had a family of fox move in right next door to me. So I had about 8 fox living next door, and I caught them hunting in my yard one time and sent the dogs after them, and they didn't come back over there. But it was for about a whole summer. A family of fox moved in right next door.
Now let me ask you something. When you're growing these, so I want to get back to the growing. So we broke down the chickens, but I kind of want to get into the growing the fruits and vegetables. So this particular one right here, is there any pesticides in this or any type of like, are you doing this like straight, like, look how big those are. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, are you doing something to those things for them to be that big?
Nope. The Most High gives me water. He gives me sunlight, and I don't do anything else. I don't do, like I said, no pesticides at all. Actually, I didn't put anything on those plants. Whenever I do use any sorts of pesticides, I use essential oils. I use other herbs. So I do like a companion planting. So like my tomatoes, I'll plant basil with my tomatoes, and they'll deter hookworms and different things like that.
Okay. Now, when you grow your plants, for instance, this picture right here, did you create that yourself? How you have the boards around it, and like, did you do that all yourself?
Yeah, I built it.
Oh, wow. How hard is it to do that? Like, for someone who has no experience in that?
It's easy to do, but it is hard work. If you're somebody that don't want to do manual labor, then, it's going to be a rough transition, but it's really easy to do. And it's not like none of this stuff can be high tech. What you see right there is a lot more high tech than anybody has to be. You could really grow food. And I grew food in trash cans. Okay.
Yeah,
so
you even have these little pods right here.
Mm-hmm.
That you also had grew food in. So you had that bed on the ground that you created, but you also have this right here. Was that like sitting on a table or something?
This was in the basement. This was when I first planted the seeds, and then I moved them outside.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's
another thing. This is the nursery.
Get into that a little bit. So get into that a little bit, the whole nursery, and then transporting it to outside.
Okay. So this is what I was discussing just a little bit ago when I was talking about the fungus gnats and how I lost a ton of my produce. Okay, so when you first begin and you're gonna be indoors, the environment when it's moist and you're inside, that is when you can run into the problem with the fungus gnats. So this is my indoor nursery. I have a lamp that I think I had 3 lamps that is set up. This was in the basement. You want to make sure that it's a cool environment, but these trays typically come with like a little dome just to keep it, because it does have to stay moist, and it does have to stay at about 80 degrees. Okay. And so once these seedlings are old enough to go outside, I typically would wait until they're about 3 to 4 inches tall. And then I take them and move them outside to the porch, just so that they can get used to the wind and the different environment outside before putting them.
You don't put them in here. You don't put them in that right away.
No.
You put them on your porch.
Put them on the porch for a couple of days. And then you take them out in the sun. Just for a couple hours a day, and then you put them out there, because if you just take them from the basement, these are babies here. You know, you got to look at them as babies. If you take them from the basement and you throw them outside in the environment that they're not used to, it will kill them.
Oh wow, this is like a kid for real, man. This is
yeah.
Like, oh
yeah, it's babies. I would sing to them. I can't sing that well, but they grew.
They probably like your voice. They don't care. Like, she's
right. I ain't no Whitney Houston, but they grew.
So now, after you had them on your porch, you took them out for a few hours each day. Now that's when you would transport them here.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
And from here, when they're in the basement, they're very, very, you have to be very gentle with them, because they're at the fragile state. Once they get out here, they're like toddler stage. It's like your newborn baby that, is real fragile. And then, once they're about 2 or 3 years old, they're a lot more sturdy. So once they get outside, they're not as fragile as they are in the basement.
Okay. So now I want to kind of get into, because I see that you also do things like with your kids, it looks like.
Yes.
Like they're even a part of the whole growing process and all that as well.
Absolutely. So that's a part of their homeschool.
Okay.
Because I homeschool them, they get agriculture, they get beekeeping, and they get all sorts of things. They learn how. I have a book right here called Back to the Basics.
Let me take it down. Okay.
You see that?
Yeah, Back to the Basics.
Back to the Basics, and it's got a ton of stuff that I teach the kids in here. It's got ways to make natural wind power, solar power, different things like that. You can. It teaches you how to butcher meals. It teaches you, basically, it actually teaches you how to build a house. Like,
wow.
Yeah. So that is one thing that I would suggest anybody do. It teaches you how to make soap, all sorts of things, anything that you would need to be self-sufficient. It teaches all sorts of things like that. So those are the type of things that I use to homeschool the kids. And then they get that hands-on with the gardening, with the beekeeping, and things like that.
So all of these things come in together, basically.
Yeah.
So I want to get in, since we're talking about the homeschool, I want to get into that. What about people who feel like, man, I can't do no homeschool. Mm-hmm. I have trouble doing my ABCs 1, 2, 3s as it is. Like, I'm barely making it through. What would be your advice for people who really want to homeschool their children? But before we get into that, what made you homeschool your children? Let's back up a little bit. What made you come to the realization where you're like, you know what, I want to homeschool my kids? What got you to that point?
So that's another thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to homeschool my kids. I had been looking into it, but that's another thing, just like the gardening, where we begin telling ourselves that we can't do it for whatever reason. I'm not smart enough. I don't have the time. I don't know where to begin. And what ended up happening was in 2020, when they shut everybody's schools down and everybody's kids basically were homeschooled, at that point, I realized, okay, well, even though they're learning online, what's the difference between me taking them off of that and doing it myself? So I was kind of forced into it. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to do it myself. And so I just took a leap of belief, and, I trusted the Most High. And that very next year, I never sent them back, and I just pulled them out of school that year. And, I just started homeschooling from then.
Dang. Okay.
And what I will say, though, is, for those of you guys and anybody that's thinking that it's too hard or it's too difficult, it's not too hard. It's not too difficult. Our ancestors was doing it before they started the public school system, less than 100 years ago. But before then, there was no such thing as the public school systems. Our kids learned at home. They learned from us. So we have been indoctrinated into this system that we have to put our children in this system, and we don't.
So what are some of the programs you use? How did you set up your whole homeschool classroom? Like, well, what were some of the first steps you did? And what are some advice you give to people who are beginners at this, who's interested in homeschooling?
So when I first started, I binge watched YouTube, and I looked up a ton of different people and what curriculums they use and everything like that. And what I found was that was really a waste of my time. There is 2 curriculums that I like, but even then, for me, I'm still, constantly picking and choosing and ripping stuff from this curriculum, ripping stuff from that curriculum. So what works best for me is that I just pick my own curriculum and pick my own lessons and plan them myself for the children. So because I know that I want them to learn gardening, I buy books on gardening, and then I study it and I teach them, because I know I want them to know how to be beekeepers, because I know I want them to know how to be entrepreneurs. I pick out books and I, research entrepreneurship, to teach them business. Yes.
Okay, I get what you mean. Okay.
So I pull from a ton of different sources, and then I just sort of collectively teach them, what I have pulled from these sources. But I do have 2 homeschool curriculums that I use for language arts. One is called Good and Beautiful. It's a Christian curriculum, which, that's neither here nor there. But like I said, I pick and choose out of that curriculum. And then the other one is called Gather Around. And I like that curriculum too. The thing I like about Gather Around is that you can purchase an electronic version, and it'll give you from all the way from pre-K to high school.
Wow.
And you never have to buy it again. But it's a couple $100, but you never have to buy it again, and you just have the software.
So you could just keep going back to it, basically.
Yeah.
As you see fit.
Yep.
Oh, that's pretty good. And how did you find some of these things?
Online. Just looking online. Like I said, different YouTube channels. From different people who actually homeschool, and just doing the research myself, really.
Okay. What some of the ways you set up your classroom? Like, did you have to have a big space? Because some people might say, well, I don't have the space, to really try to do no homeschool. How did you set up your classroom?
So what I will say about that is, when I first started, I had a huge home, and what you're looking at is in my basement. And I ended up going through a lot, and I ended up having to live in a camper. And I was able to do it in a camper. So if I can do it in a very small camper, then anybody can do. You can do it in a car if you have to, and I have 4 children, all the way from the 11th grade down to preschool. My youngest is in preschool. So while it's challenging having, all the different grade levels, you can do it anywhere. You don't need a ton of space. The biggest thing is making sure that you have control over your children, so they understand what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And as long as they have somewhere to sit, as long as they have, the supplies that they need, pens, pencils, paperwork and stuff like that, you can educate them anywhere. Our ancestors did it in tents, so we can absolutely do it.
Now, what about the time schedule? Because you're an entrepreneur. Yeah. We're going to get into that shortly, but you also work a job. So how are you working and homeschooling like you just said you are?
So I actually have 4 jobs, and it's challenging. 3 of them are PRN or as needed. So I, fill in whenever I have the ability. I have the ability to make my own schedule. And the job that I actually am steady on is part-time. So I work 3 nights a week, and I do night shift. And then I just kind of fill in as I go. So I come home, I go to sleep, I take a nap. I have my curriculum set up, and it's already pre-planned out. So the children already know what they have to do. Once I get up, then I'll work with the younger children and do their schooling with them. But the older children, I don't have to do anything with them unless I'm actually teaching them a lesson.
Yeah,
absolutely. They know what they need to do, and they get it done.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Now, what about your state? Because let's say some people that say, okay, so I'm supposed to just take my kid out of school. Like,
Mhm.
what about your state? Like, how do you, if someone's like, okay, I got my classroom, I did my research, I got my curriculum, I fixed my schedule. Now, what do I do? My kid is enrolled in public school. What do I do now?
Okay, so for the state of Ohio, it's a pretty simple process. I would encourage that everybody look at your state to see what the requirements are. But for Ohio, it's very simple. All you have to do is get you have to be a high school graduate or have gotten your GED. And then you have to provide, I want to say it's 900 hours, but you have to provide them with the curriculum that you plan to use. You have to type it up, and you have to submit it to the superintendent, and then along with an application to homeschool. And they'll approve it. They approve it within a couple weeks. They'll send you the letter of approval, and that just basically removes your liability, so that nobody's looking for your children. Um, and I do that every year. I do that annually at the
So then
beginning of
every
the school
year,
year.
okay, so every year you have to annually write out your curriculum, submit it to the superintendent, and then they
Yep.
just approve you each year like that.
Yep. Absolutely. There's a few other ways you can do it. You can have your children take state tests, and you wouldn't have to give them the curriculum, but because I don't teach them based off of what they teach in the public schools, I don't do it like that. I submit my curriculum, and they go over the information that I'm teaching them, and I also teach them a ton of other information that's outside of the curriculum. But I submit the curriculum, that way they're able to approve it, and then I add other stuff to it.
Now, what about people who say, okay, you're homeschooling your kids, but what social life do they have? What friends are they meeting? Like, what are they doing? Because, a lot of kids sometimes the only social life they have, besides going out probably every other weekend, is going to school, making friends. Like, what
Right.
about your kids making friends, being around other children, not being antisocial, things of that nature?
And that's a good one. So they spend a lot of time at a campground. They go to a campground with their father. They spend a lot of time out there. They have a ton of friends out there. Um, Prior to that, we were in a online assembly where they have a lot. They do have a lot of friends from that online assembly that they spend a ton of time with as well.
Okay, so your advice to someone who decides, okay, I worked with my state. I got all my stuff ready to keep them still having a social life outside of the home. What would your suggestions be?
So they also have a ton of resources for homeschool children, where you can do group field trips, and that's any state. You if you go to like for Ohio, it's Ohio homeschool.gov, and if you go to the education department in the Ohio website, then it will give you a ton of information on different homeschool groups, different tutoring groups. But basically, you can link up with different families that do homeschool, and you can go to different field trips and things like that. Whether it's local or some of them are out of town, but they have different homeschool groups that are registered in your area.
So basically, to me, it sounds like you broke down everything a person would need to know to not have excuses to not wanting to homeschool their kids. What would be your recommendation on why we need to homeschool our kids? What is it? Something that doesn't matter? You could, you can't. Like, what's your position on that?
Well, I think that in the words of the late great Malcolm X, he said that only a fool would allow their enemy to teach their children, and he was absolutely correct. We have to understand that we didn't voluntarily come over to this land, and we're being taught by the people that brought us over here. We've been taught a ton of lies, and I didn't know that until here recently, looking and researching and studying myself. I mean, I've probably spent thousands of dollars on books, and the re-education of myself, and I learned none of this in school. And so if what we learn in school in our history classes is actually his story, and it's not our story, and it's not the truth, then our children are being taught lies. They're being indoctrinated. They're being taught all sorts of things that are detrimental to their health. Now they're pushing all sorts of sexualization on the children, and different things like that right there in the school systems. And there's not a darn thing that we can do about it as a parent. So what we can do is take our children out of that environment.
Okay. All right. I see where you're going with this. So now what I want to talk about is, okay, so we got the growing food. Before we get into the entrepreneurship, I want to address some of the questions that some people had, to go back to the growing food, because I've seen a few questions. So one person wants to know, what is your water source? They want to know if you use tap or rainwater.
Oh, well, both. So if it rains often, then that gives me a reason not to water. So if we're getting good rain, then I'm not watering, because if you can overwater. If you overwater your plants, you'll kill them. So if we're getting good rain, and there's different devices that you can get. Pretty much once you have gotten the hang of it, you can eyeball your soil and you can tell whether or not it's moist enough. But there's little devices that you can get that are probably about $5 or $6, and you just stick it in the soil and it'll tell you whether the soil is moist enough, and different things like that. It'll tell you the pH level of the soil. And so that'll tell you whether or not you need to either add more water or whether or not you may need to add some more minerals or something like that to the soil. But I just use regular tap water if we're not getting enough rain.
Okay. All right. Another question was, they want to know, what do you do with your produce? Like all that produce that you had, are you freezing it? Are you canning it? Like, what are you doing with it?
Well, either I can it or I dehydrate it. I haven't done the freezing yet because that's a process to do that. You have to boil it in salt water, and you can't just freeze it because it won't work properly. And I haven't figured out the way to do that. So either I can it or I dehydrate it.
Oh, okay. So how are you canning it? Go get into that a little bit, the canning and the dehydration process.
Okay. So there's several ways that you can dehydrate things. When I first started doing it, I bought a book on dehydrating. You can actually do it the primitive way. You can dehydrate things in the sun, or you can do it, with a dehydrator machine, and you just basically layer it on the machine. You turn the machine on and it does all the work for you. And then as long as you store dehydrated produce in like an airtight container, it can last for years. And that's great. Absolutely. That's great to put away in case of an emergency. Things happen and we don't have any food. Those are great things to do to preserve food. And then with the canning is actually, there's two different ways to can. You can pressure can or you can water bath can. So food that is highly acidic, like fruits and vegetables, you're going to use a water bath canner. Okay. Foods like meats. So if you're making like a stew or vegetables or something like that, you're going to use a pressure canner. And a lot of people get scared of the pressure canner because they think it's going to blow up and, everything like that. But as long as you're following the instructions and you're doing it properly, it's relatively simple.
But what about
that's another? What'd you say?
No.
I was just going to say that's another thing that I teach the children as well.
Oh, about that. So the other thing is going to explode on.
Yeah.
What about your eggs? What do you do with your eggs? When you were getting all those eggs, how were you storing them? How are you taking care?
So the benefit of farm fresh eggs is that you don't have to refrigerate them. You do not have to refrigerate them. No, when the chickens lay the egg, they lay them with a protective coating on them. And it sort of seals the egg in and it protects them. They can stay on the counter for up to about 2 months, honestly. Yes.
Wow,
so
I didn't know that.
As long as you have a cool environment. Now, if you leave them out in the sun too long or you leave them in the cold too long, they'll freeze. So I would store them in a huge container, just like a huge bucket, really like a 5-gallon bucket in a cabinet. So it's out of the way. And then I would usually have like a dozen on the counter, a dozen or two on the counter. Now, if you're going to go through them and more than that, and they're not going to, it's going to be more than 2 months and they're going to be out. Then in that case, you want to wash them and put them in the refrigerator.
Oh, okay.
But once you wash them, you have removed that protective layer. So once you wash them, you have to put them in the refrigerator.
Oh, okay. So I never knew that. So I didn't know that. I always wonder, like, why we refrigerate eggs, like. I did. To me, I didn't think it made sense. Once you crack it and open it and cook it, I was like, okay, you need to refrigerate it. But I felt like
Right.
it's an egg. Why are we refrigerating it? But yeah, that makes
Well, they have to be refrigerated. When you buy them from the store, they've already been
you
washed.
have to.
So
Yeah,
they have to be in the refrigerator. But when
yeah.
they're fresh, you don't have to.
That's pretty cool. See, we
Hmm.
learning stuff over here, y'all. We getting
Yep.
educated, y'all. We in homeschool ourselves right now. Thank you, sister.
And the beautiful thing is, I didn't know none of this when I started. I learned as I went. I bought books. I watched videos. I read articles, and you just learn. And each year you add more. It's really not hard. It's really not hard. It becomes a lifestyle, is what it does.
So now we got a lot on our plate. So we're learning about growing our own foods. We're learning about the homeschool. Where does the Rockwallers come in? Like what is that? Like you said something about that's where your Rockwallers come in as far as like protecting the chickens. So get
Yeah.
into that a little bit. What made you start wanting to breed them and things of that nature?
So I fell in love with Rottweilers when I was 12 years old. That particular breed. I've always loved dogs, but I am addicted to this breed. I'm kind of obsessed. I love Rottweilers. They are such a great dog. They were actually bred for farm work. They're
I
the
didn't know
actual.
that.
A lot of people don't know it because they think that they're just these fighting dogs. They're not fighting dogs at all. They're working dogs. But when you have people who have no knowledge of the breed buying the breed, and because they got this big scary look, they just they use them for things that they were actually not bred for. The actual name for a Rottweiler is Rottweiler Metzger Hund. It's a German dog, and that actually means Rottweiler butcher dog. And
Butcher dog.
butcher dog, because in Germany they were bred to pull carts for butchers, and they would pull the meat to the butcher for the butchers.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. And so in the
Okay.
19th century, once the railroads and train tracks and stuff was built, they no longer had to do that job. But that's what they did. They pulled and hauled things, so they're very strong, and so they were able to do that.
Okay, so you always fell in love with the breed
Yeah.
Rockwallers, but how did you actually start getting into, I guess, wanting to breed them? Did you first have a pet and then
Yes.
you went into okay, so get into that.
Okay. So I I bought my first well, I got my first Rottweiler when I was 12, but as an adult, I bought a Rottweiler in 2018. Sorry. And I ended up getting her fixed. I didn't breed her. And so in 2020, when everything happened and I started homeschooling my children, I started growing food, and everything like that, that was when I decided at that point that I was going to start working from home. And so I bought a puppy at that time. Her name was Naomi. She's the mother of these puppies here. And I decided at that point that I was going to breed her. So I began raising her, and I bought another male, and things like that. And I began studying breeding Rottweilers, and and just breeding dogs in general, and what I would need to do to begin my own business and to begin to make this something that I can make money from.
Is it difficult when you first started off, like getting the first dog and then the second dog and then the puppies coming in?
Um, No, it's not difficult for me because I love dogs. This is what I love to do. So it's not difficult, but it's tedious. I'll say it's tedious. It is. Like, a lot of people think, oh, dog breeder, so they're making money, and why I got to pay this kind of money for a dog, but you have no idea. Like, this is a 24-hour job. This is there was times that I would come get off work, and I've just been at work all night, and as soon as I come in the house, I'm on my hands and knees scrubbing cages and everything like that, because with puppies, you want to make sure that their living environment is immaculate. Otherwise, they can, just like a newborn, just like you keep your newborn's area, clean and spick and span and spotless. It's the same with newborn puppies. They are very fragile when they're young, and you can't leave them in an environment that is filthy. Now, what I will say is that the mother dog, for the first couple weeks or so, she does a really good job at cleaning the area. She'll eat it. She eats the baby's poop. She has to lick their bottom to stimulate them to pee and poop. And she'll clean it up. I had to actually be a surrogate mommy for one of my little puppies that got hurt.
This one right here?
Yes. His name was Samson, and I had to take care of him for 2 weeks. And I had to personally stimulate his little butt to get him to pee, because otherwise they won't know to naturally do that.
Oh, I didn't know that at all. How many puppies do they normally have, like, one to go?
A normal size litter for a Rottweiler is about 8 to 12 puppies. My dog had 10, but 2 died. So we had 8 healthy puppies.
So I see right here you have the cage, you have your puppies. What are those pans in the middle? That's where you keep your food and water or something? What is that?
Yeah, that's a feeder pan for a large litter of puppies. So that way it's like a circle. And it's solid in the middle, but it's a circle. That way they're all able to kind of crowd around and everybody can eat.
So do the bigger dogs, like, because you have the mama dog and the daddy dog, right?
Yeah.
So do they ever try to harm the puppies?
Not intentionally, no. The dad dog wanted nothing to do with his babies.
He wanted nothing to do with the babies?
No. He said, those ain't my babies. He wanted nothing to do with the babies. So he wasn't having no parts of that. But the mama dog, she wasn't the greatest mother. She was a good mother for all of 1 week.
That's it.
And after that, I had to keep telling her, these is your babies, girl. My daughter, one day she slept in my daughter's bed. I had a swimming pool in my daughter's bedroom, and my daughter said that she got up in the middle of the night and brought one of her puppies in my daughter's bed and left the puppy in the bed. She was like, "Girl, you need to watch this puppy.
You need to come get this kid. I'm going to sleep. Here you go." And then went off to her business.
Yes, she did. She dropped the baby off to my daughter.
But is it difficult though, like having your two? Because these 2 dogs, are these your 2 main dogs right here?
These are the 2 that I have now. That the ones that I'm going to be breeding next. Yes.
Okay, so you have these 2 that you got to take care of. So
yes,
that's work in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're turning around and you're having the litters.
Yeah.
You got to take. Now, how long are you taking care of these litters to where you're able to start making a profit from it?
They can go at 8 weeks. It's illegal in the state of Ohio to sell a puppy before they're 8 weeks old. So at 8 weeks, they can go. Typically, people are interested in them really early. So they're putting a down payment down, and they're pretty much ready to go at that 8-week point.
I want to get into that for a moment. So, okay. I want to get into the whole you can't sell them before 8 weeks. We want to talk about that. But first, I want to talk about the cost.
Yeah.
The money that you're spending and the time that you're spending on breeding these puppies and taking care of the main 2 dogs, the mama and the daddy dog. And then your rollover costs, like as far as like the food, the cleaning, the trays, all that stuff. Then you're getting a cost coming in. What does that look like? Is that something that a person can live off of? Like what does that look like?
Well, when you first start, you got to have a job. Like you can't get into it thinking that, bam, I'm about to make a bunch of money. You can't even make money until you spend money. So you have to spend a ton of money before you actually start seeing, that you're going to be making money. And then there's 2 different ways that you can do it. You can just breed the dogs and sell them. And sell them to just like pretty much pet only homes, but you're not going to make a lot of money, and it really will be a waste of your time. You'll use more energy and more resources than you'll get back. Or you can breed them and make sure you have them registered. So my dogs are AKC registered, which is they're registered with the American Kennel Club as purebred dogs.
What is
So
that? What is that? Say that again.
AKC.
AKC. Well, what is that?
Yes, that is the American Kennel Club. That's the oldest known registry for purebred dogs.
Oh, and how
Hmm.
do you get registered into that? Like, do you have to prove that
Yes.
you're? Oh, okay. So how does that process work? And what is the
Well,
benefits of being a part of this purebred club?
well, if you only want a pet, there really aren't much benefits. Is if you just want a pet, then basically you just get a expensive certification saying that your dog is purebred. But if you're looking to breed the dogs yourself or you're looking to put them in shows, then that becomes, a benefit and you need that registration in order to do so.
Oh, okay. But does it benefit you when it's time for selling the puppies?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're able to prove
Absolutely.
that the dog is purebred, so you can charge more.
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay. And can you do all of that online? You have to go to a clinic and get blood work. Like, how does that work?
You have to do it online. You have to, in order for me to have my dogs registered, I had to already buy them from people who already had their dogs registered.
Oh, okay, I
So
get
if the
it. I
dog is not registered, you can't just go get them registered. You can get them blood tested to see if they're purebred, but you can't just go get a registration for them.
Oh, okay. So you'd have to purchase them from someone who already had their dogs registered, and now this is
Yes.
their puppies.
And they're able to register the litter. Exactly.
Now, is it illegal to actually try and sell a dog and say it's purebred when it's not?
It's frowned upon, you know. It's frowned upon. I mean, I don't know what the ramifications for that is. I don't know how far you can go. What I will say is, when it comes to buying puppies and stuff like that, you want to make sure you checking your breeder out and, doing your due diligence because, just the AK registration is not enough. People can fraudulently do all sorts of things. Because the first dog that I bought was registered, but she looked more like a Doberman than a Rottweiler. So, you got to be careful because you have some of these people that are just looking to, make money.
Okay,
And
okay.
where there's a way, where there's a will, there's a way. So if, sometimes if you can scam the system, people will.
What about getting attached to the dogs? Like, you don't get attached to these puppies, like the one that you had to take care of in 2 weeks.
Oh my
People who are
gosh.
attached, people who get attached easy, would you recommend them to get into this field?
Listen, I want to keep them all. I want to keep them all. And I told you his name was Samson. I tossed and turned with him. Matter of fact, I kept him for 4 weeks after being 8 weeks old. Yeah, he was the last to go. I did not want to get rid of him. I was so attached to him. That was my little baby.
So what is your recommendation for people who find themselves getting attached? Like, what would be some things you think they should do if they're gonna
Well,
go?
you got to look at your bills, and if it ain't making, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. So
I love you, Samson, but you gotta go. You gotta
I,
go.
and I loved him. I really did. I like I said, that's why it took so long for me to go ahead and part ways with him. But in the end of the day, my prayers are with him. And but the beautiful thing is that I still have a relationship with a lot of the owners to the pups that I have. They reach out to me all the time. So it's really they become like an extended family.
Oh, okay, okay. So you're still able to kind of like check on them and know
Yeah.
know what's kind of going on with them.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
that's pretty cool. Now, I want to know. I don't want to know the friendly family price. I want to know what are these, what is the actual, because sometimes you know what it is with our people. They be like, girl, you go hook a sister up. We ain't talking about no hookups, okay?
Right.
This stuff costs. So what are we looking at? What are the costs for these puppies?
So the two that I'm breeding next, the female that I have, she is an import from Serbia. The one that you see all the way to the left. She's the smaller dog to the left. She was
Okay.
$3,000, and then the one in the middle was 3,500. So
Wow.
yeah, they could be anywhere between especially if they're registered, anywhere between $2,000, $3,500, $4,000. Really, it depends. It depends on the quality. It depends on the breeder. It's going to depend on a few factors, but they're not cheap dogs.
Now, how much are you selling them for once you start making some pups?
Well, the friends and families discount is
We don't
2,500.
want to know the friends and family discount. We want to know the price.
3,500.
Stop asking for friends and family discount. We ain't doing that. This stuff
Right.
costs money.
Exactly.
So how much their puppies cost? One puppy.
One puppy will be probably about $3,500.
Ooh, 3,500.
Yes.
I'm not saying 100. I'm saying 100.
100. Right. Right.
Oh my goodness.
And you know what's funny about that though is I'll have people reach out to me on Facebook and they'll ask me how much the puppies are, and as if they're interested in them, and then they ask me to borrow money.
That's what I'm saying. I don't like that. I want to point something out real quick, and I know this ain't about the show, but I'm about to do it anyway. I noticed that a lot of us do that to our people. We will go to these other places that are owned by these other people. Y'all know what I mean when I say that. And we'll pay full price because we want to walk around with their name and with their brand. And yeah, look what I got, whether it's car, clothes, whatever. But when we see our people out there working hard, putting in money, time, we want a discount. And then we get mad for a discount. I don't get it. Why we got to be that way?
I don't know. And you know what? It's funny because I literally just posted something like that on Facebook the other day. People will pay $500 from a dog, from a person for a dog, and then get mad, when you're charging whatever you're charging, and they'll actually go pay more than that from somebody else, but won't pay you that.
Yeah. It's crazy. They feel like that's why I said I don't want to know the friends and family discount. Because we got to start. We talk about supporting Black businesses. We talk about these things, but are we actually doing it? Are we actually out there supporting our people out there? That's whether it's my podcast, whether it's you doing the dog breeding, whether it's somebody's, restaurant, whatever. Are we really actually putting in the time and effort to support these businesses? And then instead we just want to sit back and complain and say, oh, this is too expensive. I think somebody went through that recently. I think it was a rapper or someone, or did he play sports? He has a restaurant. He was selling a steak, a particular cut steak. I can't think of his name. And the steak was like really expensive, and people were getting mad and saying, oh, why is he charging this much for the steak? So what the guy did was he showed some other restaurants that was owned by some other folks, and their steaks were more expensive, and it was the same exact steak. So he said, when you guys go over there, you guys gonna pay $200 for the steak, but I'm charging $120. Problem? This is the type of stuff we do, and we gotta stop.
Yeah, we do that to our own people.
Yeah, so if you guys are interested in a Rockwaller and you guys are in Ohio, don't be asking for no discount, okay? She put a lot of time and energy and effort into this. She take good care of these dogs, these puppies. Y'all pay, okay? These people
Absolutely.
Always want a discount. Now,
they're always looking for a discount.
Now, what I want to do is I want to just recap real quick. If you guys listen, y'all done got a little quiet on me, but I see y'all in there in the comment section. If you guys want to ask her any questions about either the growing the food, because this is your opportunity. She even told about how she lost a lot of her crops, not knowing certain things. So I put the link in the chat. If you guys have any questions, whether it's about the homeschooling, entrepreneurship as far as a Rockwaller, or even dealing with the growing your own food, hit the link and come on up. Hit the link. So now
another thing that I would add.
Yeah.
Sorry, what'd you say? I was just going to say another thing that I would add with growing your vegetables and stuff is make sure you check the growing season. Make sure you check the frost dates and stuff like that, because I lost a lot of crops doing that too. I put my seedlings out too early, and then we had another frost, and it killed a few, like quite a few, probably 10.
Okay, so how do they check that? How do you normally check that?
You could check to see what the agricultural calendar says the last frost is going to be, um, but you don't always know. But there are things that you can buy that can cover them to protect them. But like if you live in a colder state like I do, Ohio, you know, I think I want to say I put the plants out in May and we got hit with another frost and it, you know, snowed and everything. So you
Yeah.
just want to make sure you check your agricultural map.
Oh, okay, because I live in Florida.
Oh yeah, so you
So
good.
so we do have a cold season, but it's not cold like snow or nothing. And I'm
Yeah.
in South Florida, so you know.
Okay, so you good.
I still be cold though. I be freezing.
What?
I be freezing. I'm a little cold now. And I think
What?
it's like 77. I'm
Oh
feeling a
my
little
goodness.
chilly right now, you know? If y'all got any questions, hit that link, hit that link. So, with the final words, I want to just, what do you want to share as far as what advice do you want to give to anyone regarding anything we spoke as far as the homeschooling, as far as growing the food, and as far as entrepreneurship in way of dog breeding? Let's get into the food first. Why do you think, again, it's important for us to grow our own foods?
Well, there's a multitude of reasons that it's important for us to grow our own foods, but the number one reason I would say is if you don't grow your own food, you have no idea what you're eating. These people are putting all from genetically modified food to now they're growing meat in a lab. So you know, we have no idea long term damage that this stuff is doing to our bodies. But as a nurse, I see it every day. I see the Americanized, westernized diets that we're on. You know, the cheeseburgers, the pizzas every day. We need to get back to fruits and vegetables and the plants, the herb bearing seeds that we were originally given at creation to eat to sustain our bodies. And that's why we have all of these diseases: diabetes, heart disease, stroke, hypertension, things like that. So if we want to change that and change the dynamic of our community as far as health, we got to grow our own food.
Okay, now what about the homeschooling? Again, why would you think that people need to really invest in making time to teach your own children?
It's so important to teach your own children because that's the only way that you are going to know that your children are being taught things that are substantial, being taught things that you agree with, and that they're not being indoctrinated with the same lies repetitively that we've been indoctrinated with.
Yeah, this is true. And as far as like entrepreneurship, even if it's not just dog breeding, also you guys, I don't know if people notice 78% of dog breeders are females, but 76 for them are Caucasian females. So you being a dog breeder, being a woman, yes, there are a lot, but to be a sister doing it, that is not something that you see quite often. So what would you give advice to people who wants to get into a field like you're getting into as far as entrepreneurship that typically you don't see a lot of, our people doing? What would be some advice you'll give to them as far as that?
I would say, you know, look at what she just mentioned as an example. There's no there's nothing that you can't do. You know, and this is something that I've been passionate about since I was a child. And had I listened to other people or had I listened to the statistics, I wouldn't have done it because I would have been like, I can't do it. You know, because statistically, it's not what I should be doing. But there's nothing that we can't do, and we have to begin to remove the roadblocks that we have put out for ourselves. They were initially put out for us by, you know, the system, but now we're putting them out for ourselves because the chains have been taken off physically, but mentally they're still there. You know, so we have to get out of the system that has been set out for us and understand that we can do our own thing. You know, I'm not against going to school. I went to school. I have degrees. However, I have a lot of student loans and debt too from those degrees.
You got to add the second part to that.
I'm just saying, you know, so that being said, you know, whatever you're passionate about, go for it, you know?
Yeah, man, go for it, man. Thank you. So let me tell you something. I knew you were a banger. I was like, man, she better bring it. But I didn't realize
Praise
just how
God.
much of a well speaker you are, how educated you are, even on the things that you're talking about. The way you sound, I would never think that you were like, I didn't know what I was doing. I lost a whole bunch the next year, like, because you come off so well, like just educated how you carry yourself, how you speak. So it's really shocking to hear you saying like, yeah, I did this, I did that. I didn't even know. I had to get some books. I had to. It's refreshing to hear because
I
it
did.
makes me feel like, you know what, I can do it too. If she can do it, I
Mhm.
can do it too. And the what are some, I want to, this is really important because we got into as far as why we should do it, but what are some benefits that you've seen from doing it, the homeschooling and the growing your own food? What were the benefits you've seen over these years?
So my daughter, well, actually, my two oldest children, as far as homeschooling, they were diagnosed with ADD and ADHD. And what I found was there were two things causing that. The first thing is that the school systems are not set up for us, and so were already things that, you know, my children were being treated different because we were in a predominantly white school system, and so my children were being treated different. So the two things that I noticed was also once I changed their diets, what we have to look at is the foods that we're feeding our children, the foods that we eat every day. You know, the I'm not going to get into name brands, but the cereals that we eat every day. You know, I will say the dyes that are in these foods cause ADD, ADHD, neurological disorders. They're neurotoxins and things like that. I'll give you one example. Kraft cheese was they were hit because they have yellow number 5 in their cheese, and yellow number 5 is a known neurotoxin, is known to cause hyperactivity, ADD, and ADHD. And they refused to remove it from their cheese because they said that it added the high quality yellow that their customers loved. So they refused to remove a toxin that's damaging our children and our people because it looks good.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. You know, so once I began to change their diet, I started to notice not only did our health improve, but even things like that, as far as them being able to learn and comprehend and their education and stuff like that. All of the ADD, ADHD was it magically disappeared, just like the Lucky Charms. It was magically delicious once I stopped feeding them it.
he, said, he said it magically disappeared.
Magically
So that
disappeared.
was that's a
Yeah.
big benefit. I knew you were going to give a benefit, but I didn't think you would go there. We got someone up, King J. He hit the link. Unmute your mic real quick. Do you have a question or a comment you'd like to give to the sister, King J? But you got to unmute your mic.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good, good,
Hey.
good.
All right, all right. Yeah, I was just watching the show. I watched about a good 40 minutes of it, and I hear all the stuff the sisters are part of, and it's definitely encouraging, and I'm just so happy that it's people out there like you, and I just like to say keep on going, and you're inspiration. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you
wow.
so much. Thank you so much. I give all esteem to the Most High. You know, I really do. He put this in me as a child, and it wasn't until I stopped telling myself that I couldn't be who He made me to be that I realized I could be exactly who He made me to be. So I just give esteem to Him, and thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
Oh wow, thank you. We appreciate that. We have a question in the comment section. It says, "What program?" We kind of talked about that a little bit in the beginning, but I guess he's a latecomer. From the bottom, fitness says, "What program do you use for homeschooling?" I came in late.
Okay. So I use two programs. One is called Gather Round Homeschooling, and the other one is called Good and Beautiful. I do like both programs. However, I supplement with a ton of different other materials. Whether it's because I teach my children other things like gardening, they learn beekeeping, they learn primitive hunting and things like that. So I teach them from a ton of different other things. But as far as just the actual curriculums, I do use the Gather Round and Good and Beautiful.
All right, gather around and good and beautiful. So definitely go check it out, man. Where can the people meet you? Like, where can they get to know some more of the stuff that you're sharing? And if they wanted to reach out to get a little bit more information through email or anything like that, where can the people meet you?
You can find me on Facebook at Wake Up Jacob Rottweilers, and you can find me on YouTube at Wake Up Jacob Rottweilers.
All right. Do you want to share anything with the people? Any projects you're working on? Anything you got going on, or anything you got coming in the future?
Right now I'm working on an upcoming breeding. I'm just looking forward to my dog. She's going in the heat here soon. So you can be looking out for another litter of puppies. And I'm also working on launching a training that's going to off branch from the breeding. It's going to be under Wake Up Jacob as well. But the next litter, I'm going to offer some training services because I do train my own dogs. They're protection trained, as well as basic obedience and some agility training as well. So I'm going to offer different training packages with the next litters.
Oh yeah, I need to enroll in that because my dog is very disobedient. He don't listen to nothing. He don't do nothing. He do the opposite of what he's told.
Oh no.
He told him sit, he stand. I don't even know. So yeah, I'm gonna need help with that. Okay, so make sure you let me know because I'm gonna need it. Okay, and he's a small dog, and I hear small dogs are like that. I don't know if that's true.
It is.
Say small dogs are the worst when it comes to
they're the worst.
I think they think they special. Mm-hmm. Like I'm cute, I'm small, so therefore I don't gotta follow no rules. Like that.
They got the little man complex.
Yeah, this dog is horrible. Don't listen. Somebody look what someone put. They put, man, she do everything.
I try.
What else you do? You cook it and clean it too? What is going on?
Cook and clean. I do. I'm gonna cook something as soon as I get off of here.
Y'all, this is not a hookup show. She ain't looking for no man, so don't y'all be because she's natural with all these talents. Like I'm telling you, they would be like, man, she's
no dating.
Full package. No, this is not a dating show. Okay, this is a community building show. Okay, stay focused, brothers. All right. But thank you so much for coming on again. You guys, listen, we're on Debate Talk for You and Let's Talk Podcast. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. We're going to be bringing a sister back on again, but I'm trying to work on something, a women's perspective. So I'm trying to get a couple of sisters like you and some other sisters to come together and kind of talk about some of the ills that we're dealing with within our community and some of the perspectives where we're coming from and maybe some things we can do to try to fix some of these things, because right now sisters ain't getting a good go of things. We not in media, on social media, just even in our own neighborhoods. Like it's and I'm not saying that's everybody, because look, we got a sister up here right now. She's not displaying any of the things that we're seeing pushed out on the media. So we do have some very well-grounded, faith-driven, hard-working sisters out there, but I feel like sisters like you don't get enough highlight as they should. And I feel like the ones that are out there, like the Keke Palmers and stuff, I feel like they're getting all of the attention. And now we're looking at our women, our sisters, as if this is the byproduct. This is what you're going to get. And it's not true.
Right. So and they're being role models for our youth. And that's a problem.
Yeah. Because they got a big voice. Their voice is bigger than yours, bigger than mine. So when they speak, all of our daughters are running behind and listening to them. Yeah. So this is, they're just going to copy what they see. So you guys definitely look out for that. I hope you come back, sis. Like I enjoyed
Definitely.
You,
Definitely. Likewise.
Yeah. So you guys hit her up. She says she's on Facebook, Wake Up Jacob Rottweilers. If you guys are in the Ohio area, you guys definitely look her up to see if you want to get some litters that she got coming soon. And no, you do not get a friendly family discount. Don't say Let's Talk Podcast sent you. You can sell them I sent you, but you ain't getting no discount, okay?
No discount. No discount code.
Right, no discount code. We don't got no barcode scan, nothing. I can't get no discount. Thank you, Yvette, for coming. Anything else you want to share before we close it out? Any last words you want to give to the people?
No, I just want to say thank you for having me, and everybody that's come out to join us. We appreciate it, and thank you for coming. So often we show up to hear the drama and the foolishness going on. So absolutely, hats off to you guys for coming, and I encourage you guys that if I can do it, you can do it.
That's right. Thank you again for coming. Wake Up Jacob Rottweiler. We appreciate the love and the support that you came out. We love you, girl.
Love you too.
Thank you guys. Thank you. No problem. Yep, you guys, Let's Talk Podcast. Get another show, man. Thank you guys for coming out. All my family, King. What's up, Sean? Nice to see you, man. Y'all, like, subscribe. You shared a lot of information with us. I learned some stuff, especially about the seeds and the focus that can grow and how you need to transport them from the nursery, from your porch onto the main garden. So we learned a lot of stuff, man. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share. Get this information out there. We're trying to build a better community for our children, a better community than what we found. With that being said, until next time, let's talk.